What does it actually take to turn a missed Boston qualifier into a confident one, especially when life, hormones, and years of running history seem to all be in the mix? In today's coaching call, we break down how one of our Coach Perry clients, Gretchen Fermann, moved from missing her BQ and landed up running a 409, and what perhaps changed in between that 2024 to 2025 qualifier to finally make it stick. Welcome back to the She Run Strong podcast, powered by Coach Perry. We're going to bring Gretchen on in just a minute, but let me touch base with my co-host and colleague, Nikki. How are you, Nikki? I know you've run Boston before. What was qualifying like for you?
Oh, indeed, I have. Yes. Well, I actually qualified kind of by mistake. I hadn't realized I'd qualified. I'd run London Marathon. I had a brilliant race. I'd spent a couple of years just doing a few kind of back-to-back marathons. And just by chance, it kind of all came together and I ran an amazing London Marathon. And then at the end, someone said, "You do realize you've qualified for Boston." And that was it. I'd pretty much booked my plane ticket and I was off. So I was kind of lucky.
You had the easy route, really. Yours
Yeah.
wasn't like Gretchen or myself, really. So
Yeah, I had, to be honest, when the application process, there was that sort of moment they had where you applied on Mondays if you had a certain level below the qualifier, then on Tuesdays, and so I did have a little sweat to sort of wait it out, but I was okay at that point, and now the qualifiers have got a little bit tighter. But yeah, I was kind of lucky and it was amazing and awesome to go. And yeah, so it was a bit by luck, but I'm so glad it was actually.
No,
it's tough, I think, when you're trying
what
to
a win. Yeah, what a win for you to get it that way. I mean, I just think in the last few years, A, it's getting tighter,
Yes.
and B, you need such a bigger buffer, which is what we'll discuss with Gretchen
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And I think they're quite keen to get women in, or they certainly were at my stage, because I think it was 2016 or 2017.
Okay.
Gosh, I can't remember. But now, I think it's even getting harder for women to get in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm also on a BQ journey. I'm not too focused just yet, but it is a goal. So yeah, hopefully one day, yeah, we can have a coaching call with a successful BQ from my side. But let me bring Gretchen on in the meantime. And so Gretchen, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you and welcome to the She Run Strong podcast.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
I know you've been a Coach Perry client for a couple of years, and really so maybe if you can just tell us a little bit about your running journey, and where you're at, and we can dive into some of those marathon times and how you got to this BQ finally.
So I feel like I've been a runner for most of my life. Since I was about 5th grade, my dad introduced me to it, and I've always felt like I was a runner. I played soccer during my young years and in high school, but then always came back to running. I mean, running was just what I always had in my back pocket in terms of managing my weight or feeling, strong and managing stress. So it's always been there for me. And I will say that I wasn't paid to say this, but doing the Coach Perry Masterclass was what drew me in, because all of those concepts I heard about them, but I didn't ever kind of put them together or realize how important they were. And I had always been of the mind of just run faster in order to run faster. And so all I would do, I was making up my own training and just trying to run longer at the same pace that I could run. And so anyway, everything really honestly changed once I started incorporating each of the
pillars,
kind of pillars in, this training.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Nikki.
I was going to say, just for the sake of listeners and stuff, are you still working, and are you retired, or where are you at in that stage of
I'm
life?
working part-time at this time. I resigned 3 years ago and had a non-compete clause. And so I had to kind of wait that out. And so I did telehealth, and I'm still doing telehealth. And now I've just gone back to in-person part-time. So over the past 3 years, I have had a little bit more time to kind of work on my training.
To train, yeah. So for those, you're an OBGYN.
I am.
So and working in telehealth. So that's awesome. So doing consultations within women who are also struggling with perhaps menopause and all the rest as well. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. And so this running journey, well, anyways, since you've been with Coach Perry, I mean, I know we had a consultation, I think it was as far back as 2023. And obviously we chatted in between in the forum, and so has Nikki, so have you and Nikki. But if I can just mention some of those times. So in 2022, you ran a marathon and the time was 4:26, 4 hours, 26 minutes. In 2023, we had that consultation. I know you were training for a 55K in and around that time. And then was that when you decided you sort of wanted to go for the BQ? Was in that 2023, 2024 phase? Was that correct?
So yes, I mean, I changed age groups in the summer of 2024. So the earliest flat marathon that I could find was really my goal. And so Indianapolis 2024 was going to be my first attempt because I was old enough, to make it whatever in the new age group. And so that was the first time that I really felt it was achievable. As if I just got old enough,
Yeah, I mean, that is always nice when we get those extra 5 minutes as we get older.
Yeah.
But so just for everyone listening, Gretchen went from a 4-hour 26 marathon to a 4:18. The BQ qualifying standard at that point was 4 hours 20. And so you did the BQ, but as we know lately, that buffer just needs to be more and more people. We've had other members on these calls. Leslie, Nikki, who has missed it 4 times. She's qualified 4 times and missed it 4 times. So then you ran the 4:18. So still excellent improvements. And then again, November 2025, that was the winner. You ran 4:09, so you took another 9 minutes off and have successfully qualified, which is awesome.
Mhm.
So
that's qualifying for that's qualifying
No.
for 2027. So
Yes.
I think that I will qualify because I've not heard of that buffer not,
Okay.
working, but I'll be qualifying this September when I apply.
Okay.
Can I
Excellent.
just ask, were those your first batch of marathons, or had you been marathon runners before?
I've only run 9 marathons, and I think 4
That's
of
quite
them.
a lot. Only.
Well, okay, but 4 of
Only,
them
yeah.
were
Only.
in my younger days.
Okay.
Then I had kids. We have 4 children, and so I had kids. I had my career, etc. And then because I wanted to run that 55K, I decided, well, I think I should run another marathon. It's been 18 years since I ran a marathon, so that's really what put me back on this track, because I had been running half marathons. Those are much easier to kind of manage that training with the rest of your life. And so I really had no desire to run more marathons, but because of that one goal, that got me back into it. And so my first one back was California International Marathon, and it's a great qualifier, but that wasn't really my goal. It was just to see what can I do, and that was about a 4:30. And then the one that you said, the 4:26, that was a rookie mistake, which I already did a rookie mistake when I was younger. And so why it happened again, that's when you just go out way too fast, and by mile 13, you're just trashed. And so it was painful, so painful, but I still ended up right the same time as, the one before. So I think that's one of the hardest parts about the marathon is choosing that, pace. Like, where are you?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Because if you take a pace that's too fast, that's when you blow up. And so I've already done that twice, so that will not happen again.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that in Boston either. Boston is so net downhill. There are lots of hills, obviously, but you want to be able to pace that correctly as well. And I'm sure we'll dive into a couple of your questions with that in a little bit. But if I can ask, was there anything, so between November 24 and 25, so between the BQ and not getting in and this 4:09 now, was there something that you did differently? Was it something that you think that made a massive difference to that improvement in time, or is it still just the consistency and keeping going? Because I think either of those things is important.
I think it was really the consistency, because I trained for a marathon in the spring, and then it got canceled. And so basically, I recovered for a little bit because I went out that day and just ran 18 miles, just because I had so much pent up energy. But then recovered a little bit and then went right back kind of to training. No, that's not true. I ran trails this summer, and that was kind of a break mentally and physically a little bit. And then I did the training. But also that whole concept about picking your pace. I picked my pace by saying, okay, I think I need at least a 7-minute buffer. And so 4:13 was my goal. And so what do I have to run to do that? Therefore, my long runs should be no faster than this, that kind of thing. And so that's really trying to dial it in. That's kind of what I did.
Yeah, excellent. So really just honing in on the training paces and getting those, down to the right sort of level, which I know you would have spoken to the coaches about in the forum anyways. And you mentioned that cancelled marathon, and we actually spoke about that very quickly just offline before we started. And I know Nikki answered that post. Nikki, I mean, you can take it away. You said it's terrible.
Well, I remember that post really
training,
well. You coming in and just saying, I've done all the training, and then my marathon got cancelled. Was it the day before or the day of or something?
It was the morning of it. I was ready to leave and take the shuttle to go start. And we knew it was going to be a rainy, marathon. So everybody knew that. But it turned out that the wind was whipping and they were just really worried about everyone's safety. Okay. So it was canceled that morning.
Yeah. It's very difficult when that happens. But I remember feeling for you and answering your post and sort of saying, no training is ever wasted. And I think people forget, they do a training cycle and then they think that is gone, whoosh. But actually, you build as the years go by and staying the same or just having that little, it compounds over time. And it sounds like you did a great thing by doing trails in the summer and then going back to a nice building block. And you would have I bet those trails felt quite easy to run over the summer because you had a nice block of training behind you.
And they just feel so different than, the road. So just freer and
They're good leg strengtheners as well. They keep you nice and strong. How is your strength training throughout all of this?
I have been very consistent because the best thing about Coach Perry, strength training is that in the beginning, I tried to do it live, but it just doesn't really work that well in the States here. So I do it recorded, but very consistently in my pajamas. And
there's also a benefit of not doing it live, right, Gretchen?
Yes,
then you can
right?
in your pajamas.
I do. I roll out of bed, go downstairs, get my water and get started. And so it's very consistent. All of the coaching that you do online is so helpful for the people doing it, not live, asynchronous, because yes, you're correcting other people's form, but it reminds you. And so it is, just so helpful. And over the 4-week progression that you do, I can definitely feel the improvement, the strength,
Yes. Oh, love that. No, thank you. It is one of the benefits of why we do that live class exactly that way. The live class, and there's some people so for listeners who perhaps aren't part of Coach Perry, we do a live strength class. There are some people in that live class, but we record it. And then if you can't make it live, obviously time differences. We're in South Africa, people are all over the world. And so then you still just hear the cues that the coaches are giving other people. And for the most part, people are all making very similar mistakes. So I find that, really, really beneficial. So, so no, I'm so glad that you got some value out of those. And you are definitely consistent with your strengths. Whenever I have looked at your schedule, you definitely are. And I think, I always say that strength training is a little bit like car insurance. If you stop doing it, and then you realize like how important it is. And so, if you have a car accident without car insurance, you realize how important that was. So well done to you. I think that is, absolutely amazing. So well done. Gretchen, were there things and perhaps through training, through menopause? I mean, obviously that we do focus on an over 45 audience here, but we do have a lot of younger listeners as well. So we don't always want to just focus on that. But were there aspects of that affected your running in that time, perhaps before these marathons? that you really struggled with? I mean, obviously you are an OBGYN as well. So yeah, were there things that you struggled with through menopause that, made running not fun anymore?
Really how the menopause transition was affecting my sleep mostly, I would say. I lost a lot of sleep without really realizing that that was what all the disruption of sleep with night sweats. I thought it was fine. I was falling right back to sleep. But in the end, that disruption just, affects so many things throughout the day. So I waited several years into menopause to really start hormone therapy, which thankfully I don't have any contraindications. I was able to do that and certainly no reservations about it, but it really improved my sleep immensely. And that's so important for recovery,
Yeah.
which, as one of the pillars here, I really never paid attention to. So I have some questions that we'll get into about that too.
Yeah, cool. Nikki, sorry, do you want to say something there?
No, I was just sort of saying, just out of interest, has that changed the way that maybe you deal with some women when you're in clinic as well, and asking slightly different? Because I know for myself, when I went to the doctors and stuff, and I didn't really have symptoms as such as like a lot of my friends had, but I was quite adamant I wanted hormones because I didn't want to live without hormones. So I was like, please, I want some hormones, and it took me quite a few goes to get them. I had to go private in the end and kind of get it. Do you maybe tackle it slightly differently now? I'm just interested from a kind of doctor's perspective.
Well, absolutely, because there's so many symptoms, and I don't think women really do put the emphasis on their sleep. I mean, it is just so important. It affects our mood and our energy and our weight, our appetite. And so, if somebody like I had been just thinks they're doing fine, I mean, if I ask them about their sleep, that's when they kind of roll their eyes like, oh my gosh, who gets good sleep these days? Right? So kind of trying to pull that out is so important, and impress upon them how important good sleep is.
Yeah. I think that's so important, and something we speak about on the podcast quite often is advocating for yourself as a patients, clients, whatever. And I get the same thing with my clients that I work with, and I'm like, oh, so do you have any menopausal symptoms? Is it affecting your running? And very often people will go, no, it's fine. I'm like, well, how are you sleeping? No, I struggle to sleep. And I'm like, okay, do you have night sweats or insomnia? Oh no, both. And I'm like, okay, but those are symptoms, and so I think as women we've just always been told to kind of get on with it, right? And so it is so important. Yeah, so we just like to share that message or change that narrative here on the podcast of, like, advocate for yourself. And I'm so glad that as a physician, that is something that you're obviously trying to do as well. Yeah.
But you said beforehand when we were chatting that you had quite a clear trigger in the end that got you to rethink your hormones.
I did. It should have been the sleep, but it wasn't. It was getting a bone density and seeing that I was right on the edge of osteoporosis. So we know hormones can help that. And thankfully it did. The follow-up has shown improvement. So
amazing. Yeah.
That is real gold, really, isn't it? So even if you think you're kind of doing okay and everything is fine, maybe your body is saying something different deep down, and maybe you need to double check.
No, so well done. I think also that's just excellent. And so now training. So yes, it is Boston 2027 that you are going for. But some questions for us. I mean, we spoke around the pillars. Sorry, and for those of you maybe we didn't actually go into that. I ran a menopause masterclass, and the link will probably be in the show notes. But there are 5 pillars that we focus on there. And that's recovery, strength, consistency, nutrition, and now I've forgotten the last one, pacing. So there we go. So Gretchen spoke around getting the right paces in her training and so on, and so all of those different pillars. But Gretchen, any questions for us leading up and into your training and how things are going at the moment?
So I mean, my first biggest question really is assuming I get in, it'll be about 15 months or so until then. And so I haven't really planned what this year or these 15 months, should look like, could look like. I thankfully love running, so I am keeping consistent with it and
Yeah.
just, doing kind of what I want to do at this point. But anyway, other than obviously being consistent and doing my strength training, I don't know what this year should look like.
If you want to recover from sessions faster, not feel tired all the time, run pain and injury free, and improve your endurance, then be sure to join me in my upcoming training specifically for female runners over the age of 45. In it, I'll share with you my simple 5-step framework that'll transform your running. Simply scan the QR code on screen now or click on the link in the description to save your seats in the training now. We look forward to seeing you there. Nikki, I'm happy to so let me ask this question first before okay, cool. Gretchen, obviously it's winter, right? You're in Cincinnati and in Ohio. What's your winter like in terms of obviously I'm from South Africa, so I always want to just gauge, can you run outside? Are you able to run outside, or are you running on the treadmill at the moment? What are your winters like?
Our winters are mostly snowy, but I am an outdoor runner.
Okay.
I only hit the treadmill if the sidewalks are not plowed and I can't run in the street because it's too late in the day or whatever. So.
Okay. Yep. So I like to ask that because very often, just if someone doesn't really run a lot in winter, we can often do other sports and focus a lot on strength training. But if you do enjoy running, then yes, we can adapt that slightly. And so, you do have a long time to really, go through this. And so there's a lot that we can do. You could run another marathon this year if that would be something that you wanted to do. We could definitely schedule that in for you, because you've got so much time that we could recover you after that marathon. So my view would almost be, if you wanted to run your marathon in November that you've run every year again, or if you wanted to do CIM, which is I think in December time anyways, I would be happy that you did another marathon, probably more in the later half of the year. So like a fall marathon for you would be ideal then. Because that would give you enough time to then recover and rebuild. So really what the focus for this year would then be is just, I'd love to take you back to like a shorter distance. So even starting at 5Ks, building up that stamina, that shorter sort of speed and stamina on a 5 or a 10K, and then building up from there. But because we've got time, we can build up, recover nicely, take some time off. I quite like having when you don't have that mental strain of having to follow a plan. I think that is so key. So we can phase that in and out, go for a 10K plan, come out of that, do some fun things, and then I make it sound like training plans aren't fun. Training plans are fun. I just mean taking the load off, your mental load, and so really we've got a nice year to build you up. And Nikki, I'm not sure if you agree with me or not, but I'd really like to focus in on like some shorter 10K kind of speed aspects, because if we train right, that should get taken across into the marathon distance for Boston for next year. Nikki, having run Boston yourself, have I left anything out there?
No, I totally agree with that. I think it would be great probably to keep you running this year is to have that goal in October, November, and a marathon is perfect. And just run and complete and kind of do the training, because what it looks like to me in your training is that you've just like compounded year on year, and that consistency of training back to back, you're just getting a bit faster. You know yourself, you're training smart, you're running smart, and another year of doing that will pay dividends, but not pushing the edge too much this year that you pick up a niggle or an injury. So I quite like that. I love training folks to 5 and 10Ks. I will always be my go-to. I think forget the half marathon, do the 5 and 10Ks. They're very manageable with life. And then a little bit of a ramp up to a marathon, and then you can compound on that, as Shona's been sort of saying, going into Boston next year. And if you want to have a summer of running trails, then great. It's great leg strength.
Yep.
It's great leg strength. Do you have a time goal for Boston? Are you just like looking for the completion, or actually are you looking for something a little bit more? I know people do go very targeted. My experience of Boston was it was unlike any other marathon I've been to. Everyone down to the 75-year-old guy felt like a professional runner, and they were very focused, and I was there to sort of enjoy, and I felt out of place.
My plan was really to enjoy it, like you said, because I mean, this has just been, I don't know, like I want to say a lifetime goal, but I don't think I ever admitted it. I never really thought it was possible. So, yeah, I want to soak it all in, enjoy the experience. It would be nice to additionally, keep my qualifying time, but I really want to, yes, enjoy the experience.
Okay.
So,
Excellent.
So having no kind of goal pressures this year is probably quite nice, but having those training and just keeping everything really nicely steady will pay a lot of dividends. And the strength training, especially, you've got a bit of time that you can, build that even, well, depending on what sort of suits you, whether you actually like going to a gym as well, or whether you're just happy with the kind of home-based strength.
yeah, definitely works for me.
Yeah,
So.
good. Yeah, we are looking to add in a couple of just different aspects on the Coach Perry strengths, not necessarily in the live or the recorded classes, but extra kind of programs, so that if there's something that you perhaps wanted to on the Wednesday class, go a little bit heavier, there will be those additional value adds. So yeah, that's a 2026 goal. So I'm letting the cat out the bag. So let me just, but yeah, so you could look to do that at home still, but just a little bit more value add with, or a little bit harder load from there. But yes, yeah. So there's a so a marathon towards the end of the year is a nice goal, because to train without a goal, I struggle with that. So I think that is a nice goal.
Yes,
Yeah,
I do like having goals in the horizon there.
Good.
So I wear an Aura ring,
Yes,
and I'm just
cool.
wondering if there are any data that I can be looking to, heart rate variability. Is it all recovery data? And is there anything I can look to help me either back off or?
Yeah. So great question, Nikki. Again, chime in, please, when you want. I am desperate to get an Aura ring, because I don't sleep with my watch, because it irritates me. The minute I lie down, my watch comes off, and so I just don't want to sleep with it and then not sleep well, because that kind of defeats the point of getting the good sleep data from it. So I love that you're wearing an Aura ring. But yes, I think that's exactly it. Monitoring your sleep, so the quality and the quantity. Those are key factors. I would say more the quality than the quantity, but of course the quantity is important. So yeah, and you're looking for trends within yourself there, not necessarily again compare. Obviously, Aura will have general worldwide data, but you're looking for trends within yourself. HRV, so heart rate variability, absolutely. I think it's an extremely useful tool for recovery. It takes a look at, it's looking at your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system and how they're sort of battling, against each other. And so we want, you want to have a look at that. And what I like about HRV in comparison to just resting heart rate is it's looking at that neural or nervous system kind of load. Whereas resting heart rate is not as in depth with that. So if you are stressed and work is hectic and family life is hectic, it does tend to take that into account quite a bit, and sleep as well. So I like HRV for that reason. But resting heart rate I still think is very valuable, and so I would absolutely look at that as well. I prefer for resting heart rate that it's the first measure you get in the morning. So you can go to the bathroom in the morning, but lie down again for another 5 minutes and then get that measure. And again, you're tracking the trend for yourself over time. So not what other people are. So if my resting heart rate's 46 consistently and yours is 44, that doesn't really matter. It's about yours and how yours changes over time. So if you started to see that resting heart rate perhaps going up over a couple of days, so let's say it is 44, then it's 46, then it's 48, then it's 50. Oh, yeah, okay, there's a red flag. Something's going on, whether you're not recovering enough, whether there's stress, whether there's an underlying viral infection, those are aspects that we can look at with that. But yeah, I find those would be the sleep, HRV, and resting heart rate for me are the most key ones there. Yeah, Nick, and all of those. Sorry, Nick, before you get you on, all of those to tell you how you are recovering and to then make decisions on your training from that. So if your HRV is really, really low and it's tanking out, then okay, I'm not going to go and run speed session today. I'm going to, maybe change that and either take a rest day or do some cross training or an easy run, so it empowers you to make really informed decisions. So sorry, Nikki, did I leave anything out there, Nikki?
No, I think that's it. Being data informed is really good. And but trust yourself as well, and just how you feel in the morning too. And just let that data inform and guide you, but also dial into how you feel as well, because I think it's really important that we're just not I mean, I did it this morning, I have to say. I woke up, I looked at my watch and went, oh yeah, I slept well, and but you have to wake up, think, how did I sleep, and then maybe look at your data, and then this way. But just trust yourself and trust how you feel, because it's important as runners that we can dial into ourselves and know how we feel as well. So great to have the data. Just make sure that we also can feel things for ourselves as well. And that's what I would say.
Yeah, I love that. Data informed. That's the saying we sort of have at Coach Perry is rather be data informed as opposed to data driven, which I think is just a very different sort of view. So I love that, Nikki. Thank you. That's such a good addition to what I said.
Cool.
Good.
You got another question for us?
So, is there Boston specific training, because it does have downhills and it is hilly? I mean, thankfully here in Cincinnati, we have hills. So
cool. So on the Coach Perry platform, yes, we do have Boston Marathon specific training plans. I think they are 12-week plans. I think the running through menopause ones are 15 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so as you get closer to Boston Race Day, definitely we would put you on one of those plans. We do also, and it's a new addition to the Coach Perry training plans now this year. It's and by the end of Jan, everyone will have access to these. Is we've changed our marathon plans to we now have flat marathon plans and hilly marathon plans as well, so that if you are doing you're doing Amsterdam or Berlin, yes, you're going to take the flat marathon plan. If you're doing Boston or New York, likely you're going to be taking one of the hilly marathon plans. So those plans will incorporate some hill work, definitely some hill repeats. So definitely that will be in the training plans. The flat ones might also have some hill work, but we normally would put those in at the beginning of the plan as opposed to perhaps later on. So that would be really one of the big differences, is that it's just incorporating some hill training versus some flatter, speed work or interval work. And then of course, I mean, I don't have to say this to you because you are consistent, but for anyone else listening, the strength training is just going to be such a vital part of your hills, because the 5 hills you're going to run are, like it's a net downhill. And I haven't run Boston, but obviously just read and run it or done a lot of coaching towards this. Is they bite you. They sort of come up in a really tough part of the race, and it's the up and the down. That eccentric loading is what hurts. And yeah, so the strength training is absolutely going to help with that. So yeah, those are the 2 aspects. But yes, we do have those plans on the platform.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you're lucky if you've got hills or rolling. I trained when I was in Edinburgh, so any run I ever went on was up and down. And if you have that, that's always quite useful as well, just so that you're always getting a bit of that in your legs anyway. So if you pick one run a week that you're just going a bit more rolling or undulating, then that's kind of useful.
Great.
And the key is not to push up the hills, though.
Yeah.
Particularly. Just keep the level.
In those easy runs, it's very different to a hill repeat. Keep those easy and long runs. If you are undulating hills, just you still want to keep that easy pace or that easy feeling of running. So
cool.
So I've just a question about like your body fat content. I mean, I'm not an elite runner, so I'm not looking, but do you have general numbers? I mean, it's probably age dependent too. But for how much muscle mass and how much belly fat is, or not belly fat,
body fat.
Body fat.
I know menopausal runners, that is the concern, but yes. In terms of general sort of standard norms, it's an interesting question because depending on how you work that data out is really the norms that need to go along with those specific equations, right? So yes, for the most part, elite Olympic runners and swimmers, well, not swimmers, but we're sitting probably around at the minimum, I would say 18% body fat, up to around, just depending on the sport. But obviously, these are Olympic athletes. For females, menopausal females, I don't actually have data on that, Gretchen, because to be honest, no one's doing these studies on menopausal runners, and so I would far rather focus on muscle mass as opposed to body fat percentage. And so, yeah, I mean, for the most part, if I'm thinking off the top of my head from when I was working at the High Performance Center, yeah, we're wanting to get, I would say 45% up muscle mass at least. If you're sitting somewhere between 45 to 55%, I think that would be good. But again, that does vary to person, to age. But yes, we are wanting to have good increases in that muscle mass as we're getting older. So yeah, I think the body fat percentage question is interesting because I don't think we should try and hit for a certain number necessarily. I mean, you're a runner, you're healthy. I mean, like I just think it's more of a feeling sort of aspect, as opposed to, okay, cool, let's get on a DEXA scale or, go for a few skin fold tests, because those are really the only two absolutely reliable measures as well. So if you're getting onto a bioelectrical impedance scale, yeah, it's going to give you a generally good number. If you are using a bioelectrical impedance scale, it needs to be first thing in the morning before you eat or drink, because that scale works on sort of density through that sends an electrical current through, and so hydration affects that. So that would have to just stay consistent. And I think just gauging that number as, like, okay, cool, it's generally coming down and my muscle mass is going up. That for me is the win, as opposed to really sticking on the direct numbers. Because there's just so much variance in the way we measure those. And how you, and again, let's go back to what Nikki was saying. How are you feeling? Are you running better? Are you sleeping well? Are you staying injury and illness free? For the most part, if you're eating well and you're not in low energy availability, then that body fat percentage number, doesn't really matter, because you're doing all the right things, that you're not getting injured and getting sick.
And you're clearly running fast, as your last marathon showed. Yes, because if you just, if you're sort of thinking that you're needing to lose weight or something like that, then that's always a tricky thing in a marathon cycle, and definitely not something I would ever recommend. You always want to be fueling your runs and fueling your strength and fueling well. And you've clearly done well over the last couple of years. So I would say your nutrition is working for you. We've never even delved into that, your nutrition and fueling, but we could maybe do that in another episode or something. But it's clearly working for you.
Well, one of my challenges was I found out this summer that I was a pre-diabetic. And so I actually worked with a nutritionist, because I said, I don't want to cut out carbs, right? I'm a runner.
Yes.
I wanted to fuel intelligently, take carbs at the right time, not cut them out, but use them, appropriately, because yes, I'm very intentional about my protein. So paying attention to the nutrition part has been really important too.
That's really interesting. So what sort of, so that was last summer that you...
Yes, this past summer.
And have you managed to get on top of that and reverse it, or?
Honestly, it's not reversed yet, but it's better. But again, being an advocate for yourself, because I don't even have a family history and my weight isn't something that is a problem. But I asked to have a hemoglobin A1C drawn and almost fell off my chair because it was abnormal. So yes, I mean, it's coming down, and I'm not worried about it, but I didn't want it to affect my running. I didn't want to go over the edge and stop carbs or something crazy like that. So it's improving.
Challenges, certainly. And you've done the right thing by getting a nutritionist and really focusing in, and hopefully she's got some interest and knowledge of running alongside fueling and
She's
pre-diabetic
an
as
exercise
well.
physiologist as well,
Really
so
is.
that was
There we go.
helpful.
Then that's good. Yeah,
We've
that
got
does
a
help.
bit. So I'd be really interested. So maybe we should get you back on and hear more about that, because I'd love to hear what strategies she's given you for your nutrition, and because that is quite a difficult one, having to balance your carbs and be a bit more precise about those. So, yeah.
Yeah, but good question. Yeah, really, really good question. Thank you, Gretchen. Do you have more questions for us, Gretchen? We do have probably time for one more.
Well, so just really, what do you think a realistic, time goal would be for Boston? Now, I don't think it's the place to be looking for, a PR or something like that, but do people typically do well there? What should I be thinking
Yeah.
other than just enjoying it? Because I really don't want to put too much pressure on myself, but
So it can be quite weather dependent, Boston. There's been big storms, and the year I ran it was a heat wave. So it can be quite open to very varied weather. But let's assume that your weather is okay and perfect running conditions. It's then about 5 minutes slower generally on average, just with the hills and stuff as well. So there's also that. But a lot of the people I know, because they're very focused on the training, do really well there. So I guess it's where you kind of want to land going forwards. I'm actually not sure what your sort of 5Ks show, and are you just looking them up there, Shona? I
Yeah.
can see you concentrating.
I only have the time from 2022. So
My
Gretchen, if you
feeling
have
is that you can probably knock down a wee bit, certainly, and it wouldn't be unrealistic to get a little bit faster. I'm just wondering whether that sub 4 would be on the cards. We'd need to figure out what your 5 and your 10K was, because the first thing is to get those kind of fast enough to be then able to translate it up to the marathon. But I think you've got a whole 15 months, and assuming that you don't get extremely unwell at some point or some major injury, there's a good amount of time there to really play with. Did you get the times there, Shona?
Yeah. So Gretchen, do you have a recent, like a 5K time trial that you would have done perhaps last year, just off the top of your head? Otherwise, I do have your 22 or 23 5K time. Yeah.
oh, I don't really remember. I think just under 27. So
Yeah.
not that great, but
Okay. Because I have your 20. I think it's your 23 time here. So that's 25 minutes and 13 seconds. And that points to a 4:05 marathon. So I think I just agree with Nikki here. If we spend the next couple of months really focusing on these 5 and 10 times, that's going to give us a really good indication as to what is feasible. And I completely agree with Nikki there. Then that we can obviously make that call closer to the time, but
Yeah.
I still think it's I wouldn't rule out a sub 4.
Sub 4. No, me neither. I think definitely something to, if you want to aim big, then that's something, but then you can call it closer to the time.
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Definitely is. Yeah, definitely
You've
is.
got to get the 5 and 10Ks first.
Yeah, I hear you.
Good. All right, Gretchen. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm so proud of you. I know when we had our first consultation and one of those, and you didn't quite make this time slot. I mean, obviously we're all gutted for you, but so proud of what you've done and your consistency and how you've just utilized everything that Coach Perry gives you, which I think is awesome. And thank you for your time and coming to share your story with us though on the podcast. It's been really, really great to we've chatted before, put a face to the name. I know that's you and I have chatted before, but for Nikki and you as well to do that as well.
Yeah. No, it's been really lovely to meet you today and hear your journey and stuff, and best of luck really going forward. It'd be nice to get you back on as well, I think, and talk nutrition and stuff and how that's going. I'm very interested in that actually.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Gretchen. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And if you are listening on any of the different podcast channels, please be sure to subscribe. And if you did happen to be someone who watched these on YouTube, just a reminder that we've moved to a different YouTube channel. So it's She Runs Strong Podcasts. Okay, so if you are on those, please like and subscribe there as well. Send them to your friends and your daughters and nieces and running groups and everyone else as well. And so, yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. And yeah, we'll speak to you all again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.